Hi guys, welcome back to this episode. Thanks for tuning in. Last weekend, I had a weekend off because I was kind of getting to a place where I wasn't having fun. I was kind of overanalyzing basically every little thing. So I decided to have a little bit of meaningful rest time. And I'm back. And I'm feeling even more inspired and excited. Moving forward, I kind of want to start doing 2 episodes a week. So, an episode on Wednesdays and an episode on Sundays. I feel like I just kind of want to lock in a little bit more with this because it's really fun exploring these topics with you guys. And yeah, that's my plan. Take it or leave it. So yeah, new episodes every Wednesday and Sunday. Woo! Hopefully I stick to that. I think I will. I think that's obtainable for me to stick to. If I get my shit together and start scheduling my life a little bit better, that it'll be easy, right? In today's episode, obviously by the title, we're going to be talking about rebrands and rebranding in general. I have a lot to say on this, and I've kind of created a little bit of a step-by-step guide to a meaningful rebrand, right? I guess the reason why I wanted to discuss this is because at this point in my life, it's like a fucking vocal stim. Every day, at least once a day, I mention rebranding. I mention the fact that I need a rebrand. Everything needs to be rebranded. Fuck it all up, right? That it's something that is just, I say a lot, and I've never consciously rebranded ever. Subconsciously, of course. I feel like we're always rebranding subconsciously because we just change over the course of time, which if you put that in the category of a rebrand, sure. However, I wanted to be more specific, right, when talking about rebrand. So let's start with the definition. Change the corporate image of a company or organization. I thought to be a little bit more contextual, I would adjust that definition a little bit. So I've put adjusting one's image in a way that is fruitful and authentic. The reason I have decided to redefine a rebrand in that way is because I feel like it suggests purpose and benefit while also kind of distinguishing it from superficial reinvention or pretending, I guess. One thing I think to emphasize is a meaningful rebrand will always be authentic. That's the only way to really do it. So I guess before getting into the steps of it all, I think an important question to ask yourself if you are kind of in a similar mindset to me right now of okay, I yearn for a rebrand. I think asking yourself why is super important and really is ultimately the first step, because if your reasoning for rebranding is to, I don't know, appeal to a specific person or group of people in your life, if you are asking yourself, why do I want to rebrand? And the answer is, oh, well, I work with this really cool group of people who I think are too cool for me and I want to fit in with them more. That you're not going to get very far with that. And it's not to say that a superficial rebrand can't be successful. It can be, but is it sustainable? I don't know. I doubt that it's very fulfilling. I imagine it can be socially fulfilling for sure, but I don't think ultimately you will feel fulfilled if the foundation of your rebrand is to appeal or come across as more palatable for other people. That's not how this shit works, okay? So let's break it down. Now, these steps are the steps that I've come up with. I want to emphasize the fact that they are fully interchangeable. You can add or take away from them. They don't have to be done in any specific order. I think that would be really interesting if you guys have anything you want to share on this topic. I guess this is step 1.5 because we've already done step 1, right? We've asked ourselves the question, and the answer should be something along the lines of, I want to appeal to my higher self, not others. something to do with authenticity, sure. Whatever your answer is, as long as it's not to please others. Step 1.5, reconnect with who you were as a child. What inspired me on this step was, I mentioned in my last episode, in my January Wrapped episode, that I read Cynthia Erivo's book, and she had a specific chapter, and it was something along the line. I think I have it. I want to read to you guys what Cynthia Erivo said. So in this chapter, she's talking about getting in touch with your inner child, I guess. The seeds of who we truly are often found in the memories of what we loved as a child. Take a moment to think of what you wanted to be when you grew up, or the thing that made you the happiest before the world got involved. These loves, these desires, are our purest dreams, our clearest and most direct looks into our souls. I think sort of coming to the realization that you were onto something as a child is so cool, right? I like when she talks about before the world gets involved, because I think oftentimes we have big dreams as children, and then as we get older, obviously we have to be realistic and we have to think about this and consider this and, oh, will it work out? Like, that you kind of, with age, become discouraged from living out your dreams, which I find fucking insane. Like, why is that, right? Like, I know for me as a kid, I was very flamboyant. I loved to sing. I loved to dance. I loved all of that. I remember when I got my first ever iPod, like one of the little square, I think it's an iPod Nano or something. All I would listen to was Britney Spears, and I would dance. When I was a kid, I would pretend I was in a music video all the time, specifically Leona Lewis, Bleeding Love, like always in the garden, like spraying a hose up in the air, like so dramatic and very, very artistic though, right? I had a vision in my head for what the vibe was back then, and I loved that. I think recognizing what your dreams were as a kid and evaluating that a little bit is very important. Ultimately, you are still that same person, right? I think it's important that we don't abandon our dreams. You will only be doing yourself a disservice in the long run by abandoning your dreams as a child, right? Maybe your dreams have changed, and that's absolutely fine. But I think ultimately it's still worth kind of checking in with yourself in that way and addressing what those desires look like when you were a child. Because I feel like we don't do that a lot. We boil that down to childhood imagination and crazy, unrealistic desires, but are they that crazy and unrealistic, or have we just kind of been conditioned to think that way now as we've gotten older? Informing your own creative expression with what feels true. I think it's important to mention that prioritizing your self-expression and your self-opinion is not a selfish act. And I think oftentimes we get that confused. We're living in a time now where self-expression is very far and few in between. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it's linked to politics, and I think it's linked to social media, and just regurgitated micro trends every fucking month. But now it's like, what even are the trends? Because it's gotten to a place where there's a new trend like every day now. I say this because I think individuality is an indicator of liberty, right? It's a state of being free in society without oppressive restrictions. And I feel like we see a lot of, especially with this kind of far right political shift at the moment, we see trends platformed and glamorized such as trad wife aesthetics and clean girl aesthetics, and I mean looks maxing, fucking clavicular, right? And you have people in the gay scene kind of like, femmes are becoming masks now, and it's like, girl, you're fucking up the brand.
You fucking the brand up. You're not building the brand. You're fucking the brand up, but you want to be the CEO.
Like what are we doing at this point? And the reason this is important to mention is because, again, going back to the fact that ultimately to rebrand, we have to be authentic. So when we kind of do things like, for a great example, the femmes becoming mask, It's like, why are you really doing that? Are you doing that for yourself? I hope, and I'm sure in some cases, people are doing it for themselves and everybody changes. And I get that, right? I used to walk around with a full beat of makeup on. Eventually, I just kind of wanted to give my skin a break and lean into more natural makeup, right? That's absolutely fine. But I think when we see such a dramatic shift and it happening on such a large scale, it really worries me. Like, why are we doing this? In short, everybody is reheating other people's nachos and never making their own. And I've contributed to this. Like, we all have at some point in our life, right? Like, we all kind of want to, at different stages in our life, want to appeal to the masses, come across as, present as more palatable to whatever group we're trying to appeal to, and never feels fulfilling. And choosing individuality will always be the better option in the long run. I think we need to stop taking other people's perceptions of us so personally. That is definitely a stumbling block in this process, because it's ultimately not a reflection of who you are as a person. Like, the way you express yourself does not define who you are as a whole, right? It's dumb. It's dumb. And unfortunately, humans have a tendency to categorize people in that way. That's not going to change. The only thing that you can change and is within your control to change is your mindset. You can't change other people's perception. You can't change how other people's brains work. Moving on to step 3. What's working and what's not. It's important to identify what is going well in our lives, right? For example, we all have that one coffee spot that we go to with our friend and we grab brunch, and that works, right? What is the point in changing that? Some things need to remain. It's important to note that we need to manage our expectations in this step. Like, if something isn't working for you right now and it's not something that is within your control, let's not get caught up in that. But it's important to identify what is within your control. This isn't an overnight process. This step alone, I feel like, can take up to like a fucking year, right? It's never going to be a case of just figuring out everything that isn't working and isn't serving you and letting that all go in one night. I think that would be reckless. Okay? We shouldn't do that. This step requires a lot of looking inwards and kind of identifying routines and habits and maybe even people around you, and kind of mapping out what's working and what's not. It's getting very hot in here. I'm in my car again, of course, because it is 1 a.m. Part of my rebrand is go to fucking bed challenge. Like, okay, final step. What's the vision? When I look at rebrands within like pop culture, I think one main thing that makes for quite a powerful, strong rebrand is consistency. We don't look at ourselves as something to kind of brand or market all the time. However, when you kind of peel the layers back and look a little bit deeper, we're doing it every day. Every time we step out in an outfit that we've chosen to wear, even if it's subconsciously, we're giving off a specific message. We are branding ourselves every single fucking day. So why not treat your life as a brand? Figure out what the vibe is. Figure out what the color scheme is. Figure out the staple attribute that you step forward with every time. The energy that you bring to the room. Like, these are important things to figure out. It doesn't mean that you have to have it all figured out before committing to the vision. I feel like you can figure it out as you go, for sure. We're always figuring it out as we go. Again, this just goes back to the fact we're constantly changing. We're always figuring out as we go. But one thing I like to do is get on Pinterest and just kind of create a board for what the vibe is. I did it for the new year, and I'm kind of slowly tweaking that. Even now, we're in March, January, March. We're in March, and I'm already tweaking what I want my year to look like. These things can change as you move, as you grow, it doesn't have to all be like one solid plan that you must stick to. I also think a good step for another good thing to do for this step is kind of setting goals. So for example, if part of your rebrand is you want to kind of really lock into a specific hobby like painting. Maybe you want to take painting classes. It's good to set those goals and commit to them. And it doesn't mean that you're going to commit to them consistently. Maybe you might commit to it for a month and you figure out, actually, this isn't what I want to do, and you want to change that. That's absolutely fine, of course. Like, there shouldn't be shame in trying all these different things. Oh my God, I've tried everything in my fucking life. Have I found my one niche thing that I have gotten really good at? No, not yet. I've just gotten like randomly okay at a lot of different things. One thing that I've written down that I think is important to mention is, remember that just because it's uncomfortable, that doesn't mean it's a chop. But why is it uncomfortable? It could be that it just isn't you, it's not feeling authentic, but it could be the fear of others' perception that's making it uncomfortable. This is key to identify because we don't want to fall into the pattern of conformity that we spoke about earlier, whereby we're limiting ourselves in the name of being palatable. Fuck that. I would hope, if you were to take anything away from this video, it's that you should not be committing your life to appeal to others. Like, it's not that, again, it's not that that won't work. I just think, like, if you are putting on a facade to appeal to people who couldn't give a fuck about who you really are, rather they give a fuck about what you present and what you give to them, that also is just not going to be a sustainable friendship. Like, I'd be more than happy to hear what you guys have to say. So please let me know. Also, oh yeah, another thing I wanted to say just before we go is, I hope if you are kind of like me and you kind of planning on embarking on like a little rebrand journey, hopefully, I think something else that is important to remember is that it shouldn't feel like pressure. Like, being authentic and real and your truest self should not feel like pressure. I feel like, understandably, it might feel a bit frustrating at times, and it might also feel a little bit daunting and scary, but that's all part of it. That's a natural part of kind of just pushing the boundaries and pushing the norms. But I think when it starts to feel like pressure, it's time to maybe just like take a step back and reevaluate what's going on. Because it should feel exciting. It should feel fun. Let's fun max. Everybody needs to start fun maxing more. Fuck looks maxing. Fucking, I don't know. What else are people doing? Maxing nowadays. Everybody's maxing shit. Let's fun max. Let's chill max. Let's just relax max. But yeah, I guess I'll see you guys on Wednesday. I'm really excited to start locking in more. Oh my God, there's vape smoke everywhere. If you guys have anything you want to hear from me, I did actually put up an Instagram story last week, I think it was, asking if anybody has anything specific they want me to talk about or any advice maybe they're seeking that I could potentially give some very unprofessional advice on. That'd be so fun. Nobody responded to the Instagram story, so that kind of stung, but it's okay. If you guys want to follow me on Instagram, that'd be great. I'd love to hear from you over there or here or wherever, whatever you listen to this on, whatever the fuck is happening. It's my dad's birthday tomorrow. I'm going to go to bed. And yeah, good night. Love you guys so much. Have a great week. Bye.